Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Now this is going to be a complete different video from my usual ones because I will be analyzing this 2021 season of Formula 1. I'm a huge fan of this sport, and I started watching races when I was a little kid with my father, and since then I've always followed and I've always watched all the races. And now I'm almost 26 years old, and I'm still, watching this sport. And now I think we can all agree that this season has been super exciting. Two different teams battling it out to be on the top spot, and especially having Hamilton and Mercedes, and then Verstappen and Red Bull. And I think it has been a very wonderful season, many beautiful and exciting races. And I just wanted to do a brief analysis in what I think are the three races, the three Grand Prix where Verstappen lost a lot of points and potentially he has lost the championship. Now I'm recording this video. I'm gonna just show you this on Thursday, so it's not Friday yet. So they haven't started the free practices on Abu Dhabi. Now that the layout is a little bit different, so no one really knows who's gonna have the edge, but I'm assuming Mercedes is gonna once again be the car to beat. And now Hamilton and Verstappen are coming into this very last race with the exact same amount of points, and this is completely nuts and it's insane. But I think that Verstappen could have been a lot ahead of Hamilton. Actually, Verstappen could already be champion if we just analyze this season and we analyze what happened, especially in three different occasions. I'm saying this because of the fact that I believe that since the improvements that Mercedes did on Brazil, the new engine on Hamilton's car and all that, I really think that now they have the upper hand. And it's very likely that they're gonna be super strong in Abu Dhabi, as they were in Jeddah and as they were on Qatar. And it's very likely, right, that that's gonna happen. And so it's very likely that they're gonna end up winning. That Hamilton on the race pace is gonna beat Verstappen, is gonna finish ahead, and is gonna be the world champion. So there is a very high chance that this is gonna happen. Of course, we can never know. The safety car, a red flag, a crash could always happen. So nothing is guaranteed, but the probability of Hamilton winning, I would say that is a lot higher than, for example, the probability of Verstappen winning by pure, race pace, taking into consideration only race pace. So it's very tough for Red Bull to win this season, especially to Verstappen to win it. And now I'm gonna analyze with you guys here 3 episodes in this season that I think have overall caused Verstappen to lose out many points. Almost 40 points were lost of Verstappen in these 3 races. Now we can all argue about the fact that his behavior in this very last race in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was very poor and was very bad, and I also agree with that. I think he was overly aggressive and overly let's say overly cheeky, right? He wanted to play a little bit with the rules, and he got penalized heavily for that. So I think he has already deserved all the penalties. But if we just can exclude maybe this very last Grand Prix, and we just analyze all the other 20 races that we have had this year, I think that Verstappen really has shown less mistakes. He hasn't really made a lot of mistakes in track in terms of like qualifying pace, other than once again on Saudi Arabia on the very last Grand Prix. Like, he has never made an error in qualifying. He has never locked up. He has never lost a potential pole position. So that's good. And in terms of race pace, he has always been an aggressive driver. But I would say that other than probably in Silverstone and in Italy, he hasn't really made any mistakes, right? He hasn't really driven so aggressively that he has caused a crash. And so I would say that, you know, Verstappen has had less mistakes in this season than, for example, Hamilton. Hamilton mistake in Imola, Hamilton mistake in Baku, and you know, Hamilton, well, actually Hamilton and Mercedes mistake in Hungary. And we can just analyze that, you know, Mercedes and Hamilton have different mistakes overall. For example, Hamilton not pitting in Turkey when he had to, when the team called him to, and you know, a lot of different things that we can clearly assume that Hamilton has had more mistakes in track than, for example, Verstappen. And that's why I think that Verstappen, you know, deserves maybe a little bit more the title than Hamilton. But now let's just analyze these three situations, all right? These three Grand Prix where I really think that Verstappen lost a lot of potential points that he could have had. Now, the first one is going to be in Imola. Now, if we just analyze the final positions, we can see that Hamilton came in second position with the fastest lap, and that's why he had 19 points. This is the system of scoring. So he got second, 18 points plus 1 point for the fastest lap. So that's why he has 19. Verstappen won that race, so he got 25 points. Now, if we do 25 minus 19, of course, this is 6. So this means that Verstappen in this race was able to gain over Hamilton 6 points. Now, what is the huge problem? If you guys remember, Hamilton crashed in that race. Hamilton crashed and he was almost like he would have been 1 lap behind because of the fact that he had damaged his front wing. And the only thing that saved Hamilton was the red flag. And because of the red flag, all the positions were frozen and he was able to have free adjustments to his front wing, changing tires, and starting from not 1 lap behind, but starting right behind. I think it was like in 7th position or 6th position. I don't remember exactly from which position he restarted after the red flag, but it was very easy for him to power his way up and to finish second. So if, right, let's just suppose that the red flag didn't happen. So if Verstappen would have won and Hamilton would have been away from points, he would have scored 0, right? Because if the red flag didn't happen, Hamilton, in the time that you enter into the pits, you change front wing and you come out, you are pretty much 1 lap behind the leader. So it's very hard for you to, even if you have a Mercedes and if you have a strong pace, it's very hard for you to get into the points. So let's assume Hamilton scored 0. Now this one is 25 points. So if the red flag hadn't happened, Verstappen would have won 25 points over Hamilton and not only 6. So if we do 25 minus 6, Verstappen could have won a potential of 19 points instead. So Verstappen, if we just assume, right, if we just consider that if Verstappen would have been more lucky, right, or maybe let's just say that Hamilton would have been more unlucky, Hamilton would have been 1 lap behind and he would have scored 0 here, and therefore Verstappen would have taken 19 points more than what he did, because instead of taking 6 points, he would have taken 25. So this means that if we just look at the standings, Verstappen would have been 19 points ahead of Hamilton coming into the last race. So that's already a huge advantage, right? Now let's go into the second episode, that it's exactly on Azerbaijan, on Baku. What happened there? Unfortunately, Max just crashed out. So you can see here, big DNF. He was leading the race with the fastest lap. Perez was second and Hamilton was third, and Hamilton was just stuck behind Perez and couldn't overtake him. So we'll know that it ended up with a DNF from Max because the tire exploded. Hamilton also made a mistake, and he could have won the race, but his mistake costed the win and he ended up coming 15th, so he scored 0. So both of them, as you can see, scored 0. So there was no difference in terms of points. But what would have happened if Verstappen would have won the race with the fastest lap? So he would have taken 26 points, right? Because there were only like 5 laps remaining, right? So they were very close to the end of the race. So if Verstappen would have won and Hamilton would have come third with the exact positions as they were, because Perez was second and Hamilton wasn't like about to overtake him. So 26 minus 15 is 11. So Verstappen could have taken a potential 11 more points from this race compared to Hamilton if nothing would have happened, if his tire didn't explode, and if just Perez would have come second and Hamilton third. So if we just consider the 19 points from before, from Imola, plus these 11 points, we have already 30 points potentially that Verstappen lost between Imola and Baku. And remember, he lost these points not because of anything of his own. He didn't make any mistakes. It wasn't caused by any crashes or something. It was just being unlucky, let's just say like that. And instead of the part of Hamilton being lucky, then he screwed up because he locked up. But then I know he was a very unlucky situation for Max. So you can already see that 30 points, Max would have been ahead of 30 points coming into this last race. And this is actually enough to be already world champion, because even if he would score 0 in this last race and Hamilton would score the maximum, so 26 points, he would still be ahead. So Max would already be champion if these two races that we just analyzed would have gone differently. And now I'm going to analyze the very last race where I think that once again, Max was really unlucky, not because of faults, not because of his own mistakes, but because of just what happened. And it's what happened in Hungary. We all remember the start with the wet track, Bottas just bowling everything out of his way and causing insane amount of damage causing Perez to retire, and then causing insane amount of damage to the car of Verstappen. Now Verstappen still continued the race, but it was clear that he didn't really have the pace, and he was only able to come in 9th position. So he ended up only scoring 2 points in that race. Remember that Verstappen started second, so he had the second time behind Hamilton. Hamilton had pole position, he was second. Now instead, what happened to Hamilton? Now it was a pretty interesting part because of the fact that his team screwed up. He didn't call him into the pits, so he ended up going to the pits 1 lap later than all the others, and he ended up losing a lot of positions that eventually he was able to come back because of just the superiority of his car, and he ended up finishing the race 3rd, but then he was promoted 2nd because of the fact that Vettel was disqualified by the race. So that's why you can see here 2nd and 18 points. So Hamilton didn't even have the fastest lap. So that's what happened, because of the race. But now, let's once again suppose that the crash at the start with Bottas didn't happen. Hamilton would have probably have won easily because, from the qualifying, they had a better car. So Hamilton would have won, but as well, Verstappen would have come 2nd also pretty easily, pretty comfortably. And now let's assume as well that Hamilton would have scored also the fastest lap. So let's assume Hamilton would have taken the full 26 points. And with Verstappen coming 2nd, you can see that Hamilton would have gained 8 points over Verstappen. Now in the actual race, because of the fact that Verstappen came 9th, so he only scored 2 points, and Hamilton came in 2nd, so he scored 18, you can see that the actual points that Hamilton scored against Verstappen is 18 minus 2. So actually here, Hamilton was able to gain on Verstappen 16 points, so double the amount that he would be able to gain if Verstappen wouldn't have crashed at the start, and Hamilton would have won the race with Verstappen coming in 2nd. And so to those 8 points is once again something that we have to assume that the Hamilton would have got over Verstappen. So if we just add to the previous points from the previous 2 races plus these other 8 points from Hungary, we have a total of 38 points that Verstappen could have gained in these last 3 races if the events would have been different and if he had been more lucky, because at the end of the day it's just luck, right? The fact that Bottas and Russell crashed in Imola and the red flag came out in the exact right moment for Hamilton to change the front wing and to change everything is just unlucky, right? Also, the tire exploding in Baku was also unlucky. And once again, the fact that being struck by Bottas' mistake in Hungary and having a very damaged car that wasn't really on par with the pace was also unlucky. So all these three situations, very unlucky for him, cost him at the end of the day to lose 38 points compared to Hamilton. So yeah, that's just my analysis. And Verstappen would have been 38 points ahead of Hamilton coming into this last race if these 3 races would have been completed differently. Now we can all argue about the fact that his mistake in Silverstone, the fact that once again I'm pretty sure that he could have raced differently, but yeah, the huge crash, very high-speed crash with Hamilton there, where Verstappen ended up with DNF. You can see here 3 points because of the sprint race, because he won the sprint race. And he said Hamilton here collecting a total of 27 points, because 25 for the race plus 2 from the sprint. So yeah, at the end of the day, Hamilton here was able to gain a lot of points over Verstappen. But in this case, it's a mistake from Max. So it's something that was purely dependent from his driving, and so it's not like being lucky or unlucky, right? It's just maybe being way too aggressive and not knowing where to back down. So that's why I would say that this is just his own fault. But these 38 points that we analyzed was completely because of not his fault. It was just being unlucky, or actually Hamilton being unlucky. So yeah. Another episode I just wanted to discuss is the other DNF from Max that came in Italy, where he and Hamilton actually collided, and they both went out. Once again, I'm pretty sure that Max in this case was way too optimistic in his move. He was way too aggressive, and he tried to overtake where there wasn't really much room, even if Hamilton did leave a little bit of room, maybe not enough, but at the end of the day, he tried to move around the outside when he was clearly behind at the braking zone, and that's why also he got penalized for that in Russia. But both ended up with a DNF. Now, something that many people forget is how, or actually why, did Verstappen and Hamilton ended up colliding in Italy. Do you remember that Hamilton had a very poor start on the sprint qualifying, and he was only able to come in like 5th or 6th. I don't remember exactly his starting position, but he had also a penalty that he had to serve because they changed like something in the car. He just started from the back. Like he was 7th or 6th when Verstappen was 2nd, and they started the race because of the fact that Ricciardo was on pole, right? And now Max was comfortably 2nd, and Hamilton was already struggling to overtake some drivers. So he was like stuck on 5th or 6th position, and he wasn't able to move ahead. And now when Max pitted, the pit stop was bad, was very long. He lost like 8 or 9 seconds. I don't remember how many, but he lost a ton of time. And that's why when he came out of the pits, he ended up battling with Hamilton, and that's when they went out, and they were where they both crashed. But that's because of a mistake from his pit wall, right? From his from the pit stop. Otherwise, Verstappen would have been clearly ahead of Hamilton, and maybe they would have never even battled out in the race, because Verstappen would have been clearly ahead, like 2 or 3 positions ahead of Hamilton, and therefore it would have been a very easy race where Verstappen would have won actually more points over Hamilton. I haven't included them right here because, once again, even if it's a mistake from the pit wall, but then what happened, the crash between Verstappen and Hamilton was his own mistake. So that's why I'm not counting it here on this number. And I think that's it, because if we just analyze Verstappen run, you can see that here it came second, first, second, second, first, and then the DNF on Baku. Then again France, first, then DNF in Great Britain. Then here Hungary 9th because of his damaged car. First, DNF, second, first. So you can see that he's always been in the top 2 positions in the whole year, other than the 2 DNFs and then Hungary, where his car was damaged. So Verstappen has always been always on top, like if not winning, but then coming second, so very limiting the amount of damage. And there is just one episode where Verstappen got actually lucky compared to Hamilton, even though also Hamilton exploited this factor to win the race, that it was in Russia. In Russia, Lando Norris was actually winning, and Hamilton, he didn't seem to have the pace on the straights to overtake him. So Hamilton was behind Norris, and he wasn't able to overtake. And Verstappen, I think, was like 7th at that time. So Hamilton coming in 2nd position would have scored 18 points. Verstappen coming in 7th would have scored 6. So you can see that Hamilton would have won 12 points over Verstappen, because 18 minus 6 is 12. But then the rain came, the track became wet, and Verstappen was one of the first ones to gamble, to come into the pits and to put on intermediates. And at the end of the day, the gamble worked, because of the fact that he ended up 2nd and Hamilton ended up winning the race. So you can see that here, because of the fact that Hamilton won and Verstappen came in 2nd, Hamilton was only able to gain 7 points on him and not 12, as it was happening before the rain came. So this is the only race in the season where Verstappen has been lucky and he has lost less points to Hamilton because of an external factor. But in all the other races, he's always been either unlucky or just not lucky or unlucky, just straight out without anything else. So yeah, unfortunately, it has been like this season. So yes, coming down to the wire, and yeah, as I said before, I think that Verstappen, as Alonso said, he has driven better this overall season. I think that in Jeddah, he just probably got the pressure from the title race, and he maybe made too many mistakes and was way too aggressive. But other than that race, Verstappen has always been top notch, and excluding again Silverstone and Italy, you cannot really blame him for any other mistakes on track. So I think he deserves it, but it's going to be very difficult, because Hamilton and Mercedes seem to have found the pace again, and their car seems to be unbeatable. So yeah, I'm looking ahead to this race, to this Grand Prix. Let's see how it's going to end. And yeah, let's hope that it's going to be a very exciting race. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and see ya. Bye-bye.